I said it before, I say it again, I think it's a really good time to be a Lobo. We got great momentum, and we're here to talk a little bit today about building on that momentum, and that's obviously with our women's soccer program. First, I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank Heather. I don't think I've had a chance to do that publicly yet. I've done it to a few folks. Obviously, we put out a video and everything else, but what Heather did for this program, and I say this humbly, obviously I only got a chance to work with her for 11 months, but I mean, it was really an incredible opportunity to get to know her. A native New Mexican, I know this program meant so much to her, and what she poured into this program will be forever indebted to what she did, and developed a championship level culture, and we're so happy for her and her opportunity with U.S. Soccer, and wish her nothing but the best, and shed a few tears when she told me, and but we hugged it up, and just so excited for her, and she'll always be a Lobo. Just want to make sure that everyone understands that. So for us, the process obviously came on quickly. We dove right into it, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our search committee, Ed Manzanares, Ryan Berriman, Casey Byers, Amy Beggin. We're all part of that process, and this is my third head coaching hire in my first year, so we know how to mobilize pretty quickly, but I really appreciate them and their insight. And look, we were thorough in this process. I think, from day one, I mean, this program has championship level expectations, and Heather built a program here that we can't ever afford to take a step back. And so we took that to heart, and we went through the process, and we're very thorough through it. I do want to thank two other groups that were really impactful throughout the search. Our community. Soccer is very important in this community, and women's soccer really has a great following here, and a lot of folks reached out throughout the process about sharing their thoughts and beliefs and their vision as to what this program should be, and how do we uphold those standards. And then our student athletes. Our student athletes are resilient, and I know Karley will talk about that. What an amazing team. I got the chance to meet with, I would say, almost every single one of them for 2 days before we even started the process. I spent time talking with our student athletes, trying to understand what they wanted in a new head coach, and obviously, Karley has done an amazing job in her role there, and so they were all very supportive of that. But their vision and what they shared, and their belief in terms of what this program means and the culture that this program has. I want to say, so much of this program, obviously we talk about championship level success, but what they do for this community and giving back year in and year out, they're one of our top programs in terms of pouring back into this community. And again, that when you talk about culture, that's an overused term, but truly the culture there is special, and it was really good to hear that from all our student athletes. So very, very appreciative of that. And just lastly, again, talk about the standards and what we were looking for in our new head coach and in this program. Obviously, championship level. Understanding what championship level success looks like and what it means for this community. As I've said before, in the coaches that we've hired, we're always going to think about integrity first, right? Doing things right. And so we wanted to make sure that individual that was leading this program moving forward was going to embody that, and then keeping our student athletes first. Oftentimes in this day and age, you get lost in terms of the NIL and everything else. But I want our coaches to understand that we're here because of our student athletes. We wouldn't have jobs if it wasn't because of them. And so every decision that they make, we want our student athletes at the forefront of that. And so why Karley? Because she embodied all that, and she's terrific. She's wonderful. She's an amazing coach. I've been so fortunate. I was so fortunate to get to know her so much more during the process. But around every corner, around every step, she just completely blew away the search committee. She's everything that we want and more, and she's obviously helped build this foundation, and we couldn't be more excited that she's going to continue to lead this program moving into the future. And look, we've got a young team. I know she'll speak to it. We've got a lot of returning pieces, and we finished 6th this year in our conference, and I think we all would agree that we have every ability to finish first and win championships year in and year out in this program, and we'll do our job as administration to support that vision. And so just really appreciative of everyone through the process, but just so excited, so honored and blessed to be able to call Karley our head coach of our wonderful women's soccer program. And I'm happy to take some questions after, but I'll turn the mic over to Karley, and appreciate you guys. Karley, the floor is yours.
Coach, she'll open up with a statement, and then we'll take questions. You remember, just raise your hand, and we'll pass the mic to you.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, a big thank you to Fern. And the administration. It was evident through our from our very first interview, our very first time that we spent together, it was evident that he. Sorry, it was evident from our very first meeting that he cares deeply about our program and the success of our program. And just him sharing his vision for us and the ways in which he wants to and his support staff wants to be there for us and help us build this program and help us get back to, like he said, competing at that championship level, right? And so I'm incredibly grateful for him and him entrusting me to lead this program. And of course, a big thank you to Heather. 11 years ago, she brought me here and allowed me to have my hand in almost every area of this program, which has proven to be an invaluable experience. And I'm grateful for her mentorship and for the years that we spent working together. And most importantly, thank you to the players. Fern spoke to it a little bit, but they were outstanding. From the minute that Heather had announced that she was leaving, the players went straight to Fern's office, and they were in his office for 2 or 3 days straight, every hour of the day, making a case for me as to why they want me to be the next head coach. From putting together presentations to getting letters from families and parents and donors and recruiting agencies, to reaching out to youth national team players that I had worked with. They put together a list of supporting documentation to get to Fern. And I just, that level of support was unexpected, and it was incredibly humbling. So I'm so grateful that I get to continue to work with them and lead this program. I always have known that I wanted to be a head coach from the time that I fell in love with coaching. I always knew that that's where I eventually wanted to end up, but it's always been most important to me that I was a head coach at the right program, not just any program. And I have no doubt that New Mexico is that place. It's the right place, incredible facilities, great administration, and most importantly, the best student athletes in the country. So I couldn't be more excited to get to work with this group. We're already rolling, but I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity.
First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
I guess the moment Fern told you, saw the moment Fern told the team,
Yeah.
and Fern did some good acting for a change
He
instead
did.
of just leaving
Yeah,
it to go
he
down.
did.
I'm curious, the moment he told you, what was that moment like? And do you remember much of it, or was it sort of before?
Yeah, I do remember it. We were sitting across the table. I wasn't sure what to expect when we were meeting. We had a few meetings, a few with the search committee, and then a few just me and Fern together. And as he started talking and describing what it is that he wants in a leader, right? Someone who has integrity, someone who will put the players first, as people first. As he started talking, and I kind of had a sense that maybe was where the conversation was heading. And I'll tell you this, it just felt right. I don't think that I had this extreme emotion. I just felt really at peace. It felt right. I've been here for 11 years. It's a program that is near and dear to my heart. I love it. I've invested everything I have into it. So when he did extend the offer and said, we want you to be the next leader of this program, I of course was thrilled, but it felt right.
Promoting the assistant is usually a popular play for the players. That wasn't uncommon. But presentations and all the links that they went to that you just laid out,
Yeah.
that was a little bit different. How much was that? How much of that was expected? You probably knew some of them would go to bat for you a little bit. Did you expect the lengths that they went to get you hired?
Yeah, I didn't. No, I didn't. And I've said to them many times, and I mentioned when we first told the team, I have great relationships with the players. I've been in charge of recruiting since I've been here, and the great part of that is that I get to build relationships with them beforehand, right? I know them 2 years before they get here. So we have great relationships, and I'm confident in those relationships. I know that there's a mutual respect. And to say those things is one thing, but when you see those words put into action, when you see them meeting with Fern, when you see them putting presentations together and reaching out to players that don't even go here, it's just incredibly humbling. So no, I didn't expect it, but I'll tell you, the way that they had my back, if I didn't have their back before, which I did, I absolutely do, because it was, like I said, it was humbling. It was emotional. Yeah.
The other conversation I want to ask you about is the one with Heather. How quickly after you walked out of Fern's office, or maybe you didn't, I don't know, did you tell Heather that this was happening?
Yeah, listen, the athletic department had a way in which they wanted to present this, And it was really important to them that it happened that way, right? So part of what was requested of me is that I was a good secret keeper, which was really difficult to do. You know, of course, I told my family, people closest to me, and said, "This is what's happening. You know, here's how things are going to play out." But I did my best to keep a secret for absolutely as long as I could. But of course, when the news did break, it was just a really exciting time.
How long time period are we talking? You guys keep that secret?
Oh, no more than 24 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, no more, maybe a little less than that. Yeah, I know, not bad, huh?
Okay, that's impressive. All right, this is a program that both of you speak to wanting to return to championship level. We're in a conference that has some schools that have NIL money that you guys don't, rev share money, whatever you want to call it, that you guys don't quite have to that level. Now, you guys have some other support systems that maybe other schools don't, but to compete at that championship level, can you do it without getting into the rev share game?
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I do think we can, and I think that we've proven that we can. You know, there are schools that may have more than we do it in the past. There are schools that were in the Mountain West that may have had what we had, more than what we had, and I think we absolutely can. But I think what sets us apart, and typically when we talk about recruiting, if we can get student athletes on campus and if they can feel what the environment feels like, and Fern spoke to the culture, right? And again, I agree with him. Culture's, it's a little bit of a term that's overused. But it's something that's massively important to us, and our players are invested in our culture. If we can get recruits here and they get a feel for the environment, they get to be around the players, they get a sense for what our culture is, typically they end up wanting to come here. So I do think maybe where we're lacking a little bit in financial areas, we absolutely make up for it in our culture. It's a special place to be.
All right, last one from you, guys. You are taking over a program that has strong history, has players that want to play for you. All the good stuff that you just talked about, but you're also taking over a program that just lost a really good associate head coach. You know yet what you're going to do
Thank
with the
you.
coaching staff?
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking. You know, I'm having a lot of conversations. I have some good ideas of people who I think might be great candidates. Of course, you know, I need to hire someone who wants to come in and recruit and be heavily involved with that while we do that side by side. You know, but yeah, I have some good people in mind, some good conversations that have taken place, and I'm really excited about the person we'll bring on board.
And just whatever you can share, like some of your offensive philosophies, what you plan to play formation-wise, corner
Yeah.
sets, anything that you can share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I mean, if you look at the way we played this year, fortunately, and Fern mentioned this, we returned the majority of our roster. Two who don't return graduated, and Ale, who was one of our leading goal scorers, and Mercedes Morris, who was very impactful as well, right? But I really like the system that we played this year. I think it suits the personnel that we have. You know, do we play that exact system? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how they come back in the spring. We'll see who our best players are. I think part of the fun and the challenge of coaching is figuring out who your best players are and in which system they play the best, right? And so to say we always play this system, we live or die by it. That's one philosophy. Mine happens to be that, you know, when players do come in, we assess who's playing really well and how are they. In what system are they best? Are they best, for example, 2 forwards up top? Are they best with 1 forward up top? Those kind of things. So if I had to say now, I would say, yeah, we'll probably play a very similar system. I would like us to be a little bit more attack-minded, especially in the final third, a little bit cleaner in the final third. But we definitely will be attacking style of team for sure. We want to go forward. We want to play. We want to score a lot of goals, you know. And then defensively, we want to press the game high up the field. We want to win the ball back in front of the opponent's goal, and we want to score goals. But yeah, I think a lot of that will be seen when the girls come back for the spring, when the players come back for the spring, and we see who's at the top of their game, you know, which hopefully quite a few of them are. They're really excited. We've had player meetings all day yesterday, the majority of the day today, and I'll tell you, they're ready to roll. We wish we didn't have the break, but it would be good for them to go home and then come back.
And then you mentioned your hand in the recruiting
Yeah.
department for the past years, and
Yeah.
so as far as New Mexico high school soccer, club soccer, you know, will you be, you know, keeping your eye on the local talent around here?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look back through the history of our program, the 11 years that we've been here, right? Some of our most impactful players have been New Mexicans. And it's important to me that although I'm not a native of New Mexico, I've been here long enough, I feel like I can call this home. It's important that we keep the best talent here. So absolutely, we will have a big presence recruiting here locally, and we'll do our best to keep the best players here.
And then what do you look for in a player that you are recruiting? I'm sorry, just to mention, because a lot of high schoolers are probably going to watch this video.
Yeah, great. I mean, there are a lot of things that you look for, right? And I think a lot of it when we talk about if we're going to talk positioning, we can get a little bit more specific about each position and what we look for. But as a whole, first and foremost, they have to be a good person. That's the most important thing for us to find in a recruit. We value that over their level of play. And then secondly, they have to be a good soccer player, right? But we value the person part of it first and foremost. We want them to be team first. That when they come into our program, that they believe in what it is that our vision is for the program. They're bought into our culture, and that they want to be part of that. That they can put the good of the team above their own desires, which sometimes can be difficult, right? Especially if you're not playing as much as you want to, but they can always put the team first. And then we're looking for players who have, of course, we want good soccer players, right? Who are technical, who read the game well, who make good decisions. And then I think the other thing is we want players who have one special quality, you know? So that may be a player who's really good out of the air. We would love to have a player who's really good out of the air. And we have a few of those, right? Maybe there's a player who's really good going 1v1 against defenders and wants to face up and run. Maybe there's a player who excuse me, is an outstanding individual defender. So I think when you look at the soccer player as a whole, but then they have one really special quality that sets them apart.
And then I think, because I was a soccer player growing up, I fell in love with the game when my dad's from Chile. When Chile beat Mexico 7-0, I was like, oh, this is so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
When was the moment that you, if you can recall, like a moment where you were like, I love soccer?
Oh man, if I can recall one moment, you know, I'm not sure I can recall one moment, but I've always loved the game. And in every phase, it's a little bit, thanks Alice, appreciate it. And I think in every phase of my life, that love has grown in a different way. From the time I was playing as a little girl, you know, I used to strap a bag of balls over my shoulder and get on my go-ped and ride half a mile down to the fields and shoot for hours by myself. I loved the game then. And then in high school and in club, I loved the game then. And then in college, I went and made some of my best friends, someone who really is like an adopted sister to me now, you know, and I loved the game then, and it gave me an education. And then I got to play professionally for a few years, and I loved the game then for a different reason. And then I got into coaching, and I think you fall in love with the game in a completely different way when you get to coach, because coaching is a vehicle. Of course, soccer is a really fun part of it, but it is a vehicle that allows you to, hopefully in some small way, be an influence in these young women's lives at a really crucial time when they're trying to figure out who are they and what do they stand for and what's important to them, right? And so I think as my experience or my time in soccer has evolved, I've fallen in love with the game in many different ways, all of which I'm incredibly grateful for.
Coach, I got one question.
Yeah.
A lot of teams take on the personality of the coach. What are we talking about?
Yeah, that's a great question. Listen, my personality is I'm a very hard worker. I'm very organized. I can be, the team will joke sometimes that I'm the serious one of the staff. And they're not wrong. I am the serious one, for sure. But I also like to have a lot of fun. So we're talking about an environment where you come up to training and you're excited to train, where it's very clear what the session is and what we're going to focus on and what the goals are, what we're trying to achieve from the session, right? That it's very clear in the teaching what we expect from them. But that we also have a lot of fun doing it, that we compete and that we train hard and that we work hard, but we can take a moment and laugh when something funny happens. But at the end of the day, it is absolutely an environment that's incredibly positive, right? It's very demanding, but it's very, very positive and supportive.
Any other questions?
And then with the amount of time you've spent here and the amount of players you'll obviously returning, would you say this is almost a relief taking over a new program as opposed to, say, being a coach in a completely new situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the advantages of being here, right? Is that having been here for so long and having recruited these players and having worked with them, certainly there's a certain level of trust that's already there, you know. And I think back to the question that you asked, I think that them going to the lengths that they did really demonstrated the trust that they had in me, and in turn the trust that I have in them. And so the fact that is established, I think, is hugely important, right? The fact that when they were recruited to come here, that I was part of that process, and that they came here, of course, because of the program, but they also knew that they were coming here for the staff that was currently here. And so I think absolutely, you know, do you want to say easier? Of course. I mean, I don't know if we could say easier than what something else might be. I don't know what that other thing is, and I'm grateful I don't. But certainly I think there's some foundations laid that's going to make the transition easier had it not been in a different school. Yeah, definitely.
Any questions for Coach? Great, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Coach.